After a very tough and exhausting day or evening, depending on who you are, there is hope for peace here, or rather for a truce. And it is going to be proposed by Russia, Ukraine, together with the US. Apparently, our pair is moving together, and now they're even proposing a truce without pausing the bombings, both inside and outside. In short, let's see what we have here. So Ukraine and the US discussed an air ceasefire, and the proposal will be passed on to Russia. Here we already have some inspiring photos where Trump is walking and really listening to Zelensky's words. He is absorbing his values, moral, ethical, whatever you want. At the same time, officials from Ukraine and the US are discussing the possibility of stopping airstrikes. And the proposal will be passed on to Russian officials as part of a new round of peace proposals. It turns out there's a new round. This is something different. The source noted that earlier Ukraine had already reached out to Putin, but he rejected it. And at the same time, Peskov also said that the war could literally be stopped within a day if Zelensky follows the directives or whatever that Putin gave. And the Bird of Resilience and I are just in shock. Let me remind you, the Bird of Resilience's name is Juan. What's next? Next we have US President Donald Trump and Zelensky. Apparently the two of them are opposing someone together. He's being presented as the president. That's just the translation. In short, they are supposed to meet in Washington on Tuesday, July 28. A Ukrainian source reported that Zelensky is interested in a trip to the US. But his team was waiting for official confirmation that basically they could go, the table is set, go ahead. And again, questions arise about how many attacks on Ukraine there will be then. As you know, a swallow flies low before rain, and attacks on Kyiv happen when the president of Ukraine is somewhere outside Kyiv. And then, unfortunately, the capital is shelled especially actively. So apparently we should expect these active attacks for a whole week. Because Zelensky, besides discussing important issues with Trump about an air ceasefire, will also attend a funeral. Lindsey Graham, Ukraine's biggest friend, who once said that America makes trillions of dollars by using Ukrainians. That's wonderful, and of course such a great person deserves to be honored. Then there is some additional information. Here they talk about how Zelensky spoke with Svitkov and Jared Kushner, whose official position, as you know, is Trump's son-in-law. So nepotism doesn't exist in politics now and can't exist. Zelensky also talks about the leadership changing. Already here, all sorts of things have been written about Ichmar and Dropat, like, for example, that they have strong synergy with Dropat, whatever that means. But now, a shared vision. Wars are about technological superiority, asymmetric solutions, and more opportunities to destroy the enemy. Juan and I are shocked again. Juan's sombrero even shrank in size from all this intensity. Well, I'm holding on for now. Also, we informed Dropata's and Ichmar's partners about the situation at the front and Ukraine's steps to force Russia into a just peace. Previously, you couldn't force them just by informing the partners. Now that they've done so, informing the partners allows you to force them. In short, very interesting information, very informative and apparently extremely favorable. Then there's another interesting thing. It's when a female blogger who was apparently paid arrived. She used to criticize Zelensky, but now she's his supporter. And she came to Ukraine and said that Zelensky talked about what would happen with the US next week. Besides that, Zelensky, by the way, also answered her questions about the use of some interesting substances. And now I'll try to find this complicated video. I don't think I've shown it to you.
This is a photo that I'm sure you've seen in the video, and it was widely amplified by Russia today. It's you and Macron sitting in some back room.
He says there are some photos and videos that are being especially actively promoted by the Russian Federation where Zelensky and Macron are hanging out in some back room somewhere, basically.
So is it true or not? Were you there with Macron or were you not?
You use all sorts of things there. And of course, never. Of course not.
Is it true that he uses all sorts of things together with Macron? He said no, never, and laughed a lot cheerfully, apparently. So that's how it is. So commitment is welcome. Yes, it all looks strange, of course. I don't think any president has ever been asked if they use it. Well, and this is a question naturally in front of the camera that, well, let's hypothetically imagine a person whose fate depends on such interviews. And, well, what do you think? Even if we don't take Zelensky right now, let's say we have some abstract leader of something like the Horns and Hooves organization. And here he is, in front of the camera, before everyone's very eyes. The viewers ask, "Do you use?" And he tells you, "Yes, of course, you know, this morning I took some and came straight to you for the interview." Alright, let's skip that. Let's see what's next. So, while Zelensky is getting ready to leave for a week, the warehouses of the largest supermarket chain called Epicenter are already being destroyed in Zelensky's hometown, Kryvyi. The Russians attacked Epicenter in Kryvyi in the morning. At the time this video was recorded, it happened on July 26, and as a result a huge fire broke out, just like what was shown with Wildberries. It all started in the morning. At that time, the head of the Kryvyi Defense Council, Vilkul, reported that the Russians continued to attack the shopping mall with Shahed drones. There was an explosion in the city and several more drones were heading toward the city. At 11:55, it was clarified what had been attacked, and this is already the third store of the company in the Dnipropetrovsk region that Russian forces have struck during the full-scale war. This hypermarket had been operating for almost 19 years and provided jobs for 400 people. That's how things are. As for Wildberries, I read about their work today. A Russian source claimed that due to fires in Kryvyi, likely at Wildberries, hundreds of thousands of square meters were affected after a major fire, possibly caused by rocket-propelled Shaheds hitting a shopping center. Is this true? I'm not sure. Share your opinion in the comments. The same applies to Epicenter. Epicenter has fewer warehouses and companies than Wildberries, but not by much. The network is also large. Besides that, Chali suddenly showed up here. He's the former representative of Ukraine in the US, a man who's far from stupid, a man who knows English very well. Unlike this character with a personal armored vehicle on his head, who of course is only transporting his own arrogance. And honestly, in the last 2 or 3 years, Chali has been saying all sorts of things on TV. Well, let's take a look. Let's see what he's saying now. Chali says that in the near future, Russia will try to inflict as much damage on Ukraine as possible. Strikes will be carried out both on dual-use facilities and on the civilian sector. In the coming months, this will lead to huge losses. Although this is regulated by humanitarian law, the restrictions concerning methods of warfare are no longer really being observed. But actually, on both sides, the actions are absolutely identical, and sometimes it even turns out, let's see. Ukraine acts first, then Russia responds similarly, targeting places like Wildberries Epicenter and gas stations or oil refineries. In general, everything here is like, look, Chal also stated that finding himself in such a situation of hostilities, he says it's important to avoid a large-scale war. But Russia does not want to support such a position. What's happening now? Chali thinks it might be a mistranslation from Ukrainian to Russian, since it's known to be very hard to translate. The translators, likely just Ukrainians with limited language skills, probably made a mistake due to lack of knowledge. But overall, he says that there could be a full-scale war between Ukraine and Russia. Right now, apparently, it's a narrowly focused, some kind of limited local war going on, according to Chali again. At the same time, looking at everything that's happening, the Paktagenus and Merz bloc wants to make an agreement with Ukraine about drone technologies. And they state that, first of all, Germany will continue to provide assistance to Ukraine under any circumstances, and secondly, it is said that Germany should participate in these innovations in the field of armaments in order to strengthen its own defense capabilities and deterrence capacity. Therefore, we call for an intergovernmental agreement with Kyiv in which the Ukrainian side would commit to sharing its technological capabilities with us, so that together we can become stronger. But on this note, happily, all that's missing is people in military uniforms dancing in a circle around it. There are either burning objects there or, for example, racks with boxes with those things. And they also proclaim the greatness of either Paktagenus and Merz or Zelensky or something else. And then there are also some stories about how Ukraine is suddenly hiding these technologies from its partners to some extent. But it shouldn't be hiding them, and now apparently all this Brotherhood of Steel is starting to come together to act in some way. Poland had previously expressed deep dissatisfaction with Ukraine's unwillingness once again to join this friendly steel brotherhood. They promised drones and drone production technology in exchange for Polish MiGs. The drones never arrived, the technology remained shrouded in secrecy. As a result, the MiGs didn't go anywhere either. Now there's an investigation into the actions of all these people. So what? And suddenly they conducted another investigation here and found out where and how Yanukovych lives. Recently there were jokes about this cardboard Maidan where all kinds of people showed up. And some of these people had signs saying, "Bring back Fedorov." Well, basically, the former Minister of Defense's last name is Fedorov, and they were trying to adapt his name into Ukrainian in all sorts of ways. Fedoriev, and some other versions too. So, the joke was about bringing back Fedorovich, and Fedorovich is Yanukovych's patronymic. Well, basically, they found Yanukovych and told a bit about where he is and how he lives. Spoiler, he's fine. He's living well, most likely in the city of Sochi, Krasnoyarsk Krai, Russia, together with his common-law wife. And maybe he might even suddenly use the name Oleg Leonov. This was done by former employees of the State Protection Directorate, and currently they no longer provide security for the new Mezhihiria in Sochi. They're providing security for Yanukovych. The investigation was carried out by some journalists from Telebachenia Toronto. I couldn't figure out what connection Toronto has to Yanukovych, but apparently something is going on. The journalists also reported that a person with the same details as Oleg Leonov traveled together with Yanukovych's common-law wife. And it turned out that Leonov's date of birth is exactly the same as Yanukovych's. Plus, they also mentioned that the place where they live covers about 3 hectares and there's even a chapel there. And this couple is in great spirits and in a good financial situation. Several hundred hectares of land were rented out. 5 apartments, 5 houses, 4 properties. In short, everything is just great. Well, that's how things are. But, you know, these are things of the past. I think that now those in power don't just have hundreds of hectares, but thousands, and maybe even hundreds of thousands. And not just one house, but we've seen some of them. It seems to me that Mezhihiria even loses to these very houses in terms of architectural value. They might even be recognized next year, what's it called, UNESCO, a UNESCO site, a UNESCO monument, but you get the idea. Some kind of protected cultural artifacts that are considered so valuable that you can't touch them, you can only look at them. And I have a feeling that soon this will also be considered a UNESCO site, so that's that. Now let's take a look at some more leaders. There are a lot of them here. There's one leader who's especially interesting. I'll show him to you now. Everything is just wonderful as usual. And here we have this one. Let's take it apart. Well, let's get started.
We are completely satisfied with our work, but unfortunately our work did not yield any results.
Juan and I really like this guy. He's Efremov's former lawyer who actually got him a longer sentence than they originally planned. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go to the military experts. Here's one who, with a tear in his eye, tells his extremely intellectual story about leading a healthy lifestyle. This guy is clearly a biopositivist and a supporter of a healthy lifestyle, and he's telling us that everyone needs to join the army. But not just everyone, apparently only those who aren't into a healthy lifestyle.
But the truth is that everyone should defend the country, and while some have been on the front lines for 5 years, others have been at home for 5 years. And even if you have a deferment and special conditions, you could have definitely substituted your fellow citizen for some part of this time. If there was, let's say, an understanding that you need to fight for 3 years, and then someone else should come to replace you.
Juan and I still didn't understand, as wider Ukrainians and even Petroli, why this man having a deferment sits in his apartment with a pile of some books on some second floor and doesn't substitute anyone. If he's substituting for someone in the army, he should say who. Otherwise, it's a strange situation. I don't even know if he's 60. Maybe he's 38, but he just has a hard life, or maybe he's 70, but he looks better because of his biopositive lifestyle. But anyway, it would be interesting to hear a direct comment from him sometime in the near future. But who is he replacing at the front? Even if he has a deferment, and at the front, well, you don't really see him in that Canadian lumberjack shirt. It's clearly not a military tunic, it's not even a vyshyvanka. By the way, it's strange that such a powerful figure is sitting there without a vyshyvanka, but I suggest we evaluate his words using the power meter. We haven't used it in a while, it was being repaired. And now let's see what's going on with our power level. Well, it's powerful as always, it can't be any other way here. Such characters always have a very strong impact on the atmosphere of power. Then we have the historian Polly, don't get confused, the smiling girl on the left. The historian Polly is in the bottom right corner of the TV. Even further to the right and lower is me because, well, I don't deserve to be above such wonderful people. I put these power glasses on. For some reason, they keep falling off, apparently. I've lost a lot of weight. What's going on? Yeah. Well, anyway, Polly is known for once talking about his food poisoning. He actually said, like, I was there in a restaurant, ate something, and then said, my stomach has been hurting for 3 days now. It was the KGB who poisoned me, I'm not joking. He was saying things like that over the phone, complaining that Russian intelligence services were paying attention to him. And now he's alive, happy, and even with rosy cheeks telling something interesting to a smiling journalist.
We've already taken on almost all the negativity as a country. The community has already somewhat adapted, since the country has chosen its path anyway.
To be honest, I didn't really follow what historian Polly said about Volkov. Bulka is hard to understand. Apparently those power glasses were protecting him. But he said in general that Ukraine will survive no matter what. Well, obviously the territory remains, and there's another one, even more powerful. This one is really something. And this guy, sitting in a huge car, talks about what needs to be done. First of all, he always says that draft dodgers are bad, although as you can see, he doesn't look like a soldier himself, with a kind smile and a friendly female journalist on his left. I don't know, the optimism just prevails. Optimism really dominates this pair. He talks about how Putin is finished. Again, it's this character who's saying it. Or here's another one. He paused, got a signal from the astroplane, and left.
The option that seems more likely to me is that they'll just remove him. By the end of the year, he should be removed, physically removed, because I don't believe he'll leave this position on his own. He's lost his...
Who will remove Mr. Andrei? Some Russians or outsiders?
Oligarchs, Russians. Only Russians will do it, not outsiders.
What analysis. Just analysis straight from God. These pies just keep getting stronger and stronger. They promote, in short, their analytical abilities and become, well, a kind of oracle. And then there's also this kind of character. Today we already have a gathering of all sorts of exemplary brothers in arms, and why are they exemplary brothers in arms? But in Turkey, actually, that's where they get their transplants. He says elections shouldn't happen. The main thing is to win the war. Apparently, what helps this character win the war is... the Ukrainian flag hanging on the wall behind him is clearly not hanging against a bunker wall, because you can see some kind of pink wallpaper there. But the main thing is to make a serious, stern face and talk about victory. Where is the anthem? Where is the military tunic? Where is some kind of helmet of power? Where is the rifle? I don't know. The character doesn't have them, but he says that Ukraine must win.
That's exactly the only thing.
The microphone is likely at the neighbors at this character's place. Let's increase the volume a bit.
Everyone who is currently preparing for the elections, they are associated.
Too early. Who is that? Juan and I are shocked again. Who is that? Show us. He's probably some kind of super soldier too, just in the form of a journalist. But overall, it's wonderful. We can't get a closer look because, well, that's just how it is. So that's how things are going for us with all this. And again, remember the sign. The farther Zelensky is from Ukraine, the heavier the shelling. So be careful. Soon he'll say it himself. He'll say it in the evening before leaving, wagging his finger that we still need to keep searching and all that. Well, anyway, life goes on. So, have a good evening. Goodbye, everyone. Primo, io non primo.
To destroy the energy system, but also to create situations to scare people. So the only thing that can be effective is fear. And for that we need tomahawks, we need other weapons, so that we can effectively cripple Russia's energy system in response. Therefore, all our main efforts, from the budget to the information sphere, must be aimed at victory.